Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belizean Affairs Show number 437. 437. For those of you who are going to be with us tonight, we'd like to say thank you for gracing us with your presence and spending your valuable time listening to what we have to offer. For those who will be listening to us probably later on tonight after they get home from work, or maybe those who will be listening to us tomorrow or some other day, we also like to express our gratitude for your time spared in listening to what we have to offer. And we're hoping that somehow how or another, we have presented a program that is worthy of your time and your interest. Of course, we all know that there's a lot of things going on in Belize right now, and therefore, you know, uh, specifically as regards to some legal and case law matters, as well as constitutional crisis in terms of the implementation of bogus SOE that does not meet the criteria for an SOE as stipulated in the Constitution. Uh, and a lot of people are going to be hurt by that particular endeavor, which is very onerous on behalf of the government. But we'll get into the specifics of the matter a little further down the program schedule. Right now, we'll just do as we normally would on our regular Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night. That is that we start with a short prayer, after which we do a short scripture reading, and then we proceed with the rest of the agenda. I'll just bow my head and say a short prayer. Divine loving Father, once again we come before the divine presence, asking that thou would accept our humble expression of gratitude and thankfulness to thee for having given us the privilege of life, and secondly, for having granted us the privilege to still be alive today among our family members, friends, and loved ones in good health. We pray that thou must continue to guide and protect and bless us, bless our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren, those of us who have. Please bless significant others, and we pray that thou must also continue to bless our brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts, our grandparents, and all the other extended family members. Those all of us by name and number. We pray that thou must continue to be with us and guide us and continue to be merciful unto us. We pray that thou must bless our people, our country and people, and leadership of Belize, as well as this country, that thou must bless the people and the country and its leadership as well. We pray that thou must bless the rest of humanity, loving Father, especially those people who are in war zones and tornado zones and hurricanes, and as well as earthquakes and all manner of disasters, pestilence that's on the face of this earth, both man-made and natural. Please continue to abide with us, we pray, for rest his mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much. I don't see any of our colleagues right now in the background, so I'll just proceed. Uh, Again, for quite a few series in a row now, we've been starting a bit later than we would like to, but when we're dealing with traffic and we're out in the public thoroughfare, it's not like we can put out some wings and just allow our vehicles or whoever needs to be at a certain place at a certain time and just lift up like a helicopter and fly off to where we need to go and forget about the rest of the stalled traffic. And that's the case in some of our presenters or co-host panelists that we have on this show. So we beg you for bearance, and I'll just go ahead then and kind of short scripture. I'll go to the New Testament, and I'll indulge in reading Saint Luke. I'm going to read chapter 23, starting at verse 28. And it goes on to say, "But Jesus, turning unto them, said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, day of the coming in the which they shall stay. Blessed are the barren and the womb that never bare, and the paps which never gave suck." And that's the reading for tonight. I think I just went and picked up that particular location to read. I didn't had it scheduled. I having read it just now. I recall I read it recently. I don't know, it was last Friday, but it's fresh in my mind that you know it seemed like I had just read that same scripture. I know that I'm reading it again. It's like a deja vu. Nevertheless, uh, there's a lot of matters in Belize. We just had the weekend yesterday, Sunday, as Mother's Day celebration for some people, and that particular scripture is talking about mothers weeping, yeah, and those who don't have children also, you know, weeping. But the weeping that is happening in Belize right now is because of mothers having the government attempt to dispossess them of their children and their children's freedom, for the government to go and grab up anybody that they feel like off the streets, like they're doing here in America currently. And it appears to me like there's something in the air that everybody is breathing in, and it's messing around and messing up everybody's brains all at the same time. It's quite unlikely, as a part of nature and not the natural process of nature and human existence, that all of a sudden, all these different governments who are empowered by the people, because it is the people's power that they're actually wielding, but that all of them will be acting in such onerous ways as to outrightly, consciously, and deliberately bastardize the constitutions of the countries, yield to devious behaviors and actions that doesn't make no sense in the first place, because it's not like, well, the people are oppressing them, they're the ones oppressing the people. For what valid reason? As of right now, it still doesn't make sense. All because we dare to trust them with our powers of governance. And before they got that power of governance, they promised, they swore allegiance to the Constitution, fidelity to the Constitution, allegiance to the country, faithfulness to the country and its people. And as soon as the ceremony is over, they run on to go and commit major crimes against the society under the color of law, because according to them, they're then in power to use the law how they seem fit, which is bogus, because they're not supposed to be using or making new laws to contravene the Constitution. In every country that has a constitution, the Constitution is declared to be the supreme law of the land, unless you have a dictator. And I know quite a few wannabe dictators. You know, I'm talking particularly about my country of Belize. And I just want to take a second here. I need to launch the other part of the program. Just bear with me for a second, please. I forgot. I was running away with the program and forgot that I hadn't launched the other section of it to some of our other colleagues who are hoping to. Mm, okay, let me go back. Okay, just a couple. Yeah, okay. Looks like it's going to be all right. I'm in good shape. Just need to do a couple more strokes here, and then I'll leave the rest. I'll leave the rest for some other point in time. If anyone else shows up while they're talking, then I could cue in the rest of it. But for right now, that's good enough. Um, so I was about to grab the other device so that I can find my copy of the electronic copy of the Constitution of Belize, because I don't want anyone to think that because I'm doing the presentation of the program and I'm verbalizing that what I'm saying is just how I feel about the situation and how I would like for it to be. So I'd rather just read what I need to read from the Constitution. So the Constitution, in other words, is allowed to speak for itself. Let me go ahead and pull this stuff up, please. I'm trying not to kill too much your time, but at the same time, I need to be cogent with the program presentation. So, go here. Okay. Okay. A little too big. Okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay. So, what I'm going to read is the Constitution of Belize, Part 1, referring to the state and the Constitution. And under Part 1, you have Section 2, Section 1 and Section 2. I would like to read Section 2, subsection 1, which reads as follows: This Constitution, referring or making reference to the Constitution of Belize, this Constitution is the supreme law of Belize, and if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution, that other law shall, comma, to the extent of the inconsistency, comma, be void. So, subsection 2 of the Constitution of Belize speaks to two different laws, or two different types of laws, right? It speaks to the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution, and then it speaks to other laws. And those other laws are laws that you call them substantive laws that the legislators are authorized to make when they make them within the bounds of the Constitution, because the supreme law of the land is the Constitution. The other laws are not supreme laws. They are not the Constitution. Sometimes they form parts of the Constitution based on how those laws are made and within what context those laws are made, and if those laws are considered to be constitutional or deemed to be constitutional and ruled as such by the courts. Not because it is made by the legislator, it is legal, lawful, and constitutional. That's the purview of the courts, the judiciary. I'll probably end up repeating myself as regards to this particular point quite a few times tonight in this presentation because, as I said earlier, what my presentation for tonight is going to be about until the chairman is available. Then I'll turn the program over to the chairman and let the chairman decide, what he wants to do for his program. I'm just doing a temporary fill-in for right now. And in the meantime, like I said, as I alluded to earlier in the beginning of the presentation, I may have mentioned that we have some major critical, I would say, crisis, a constitutional crisis, as a matter of fact, I would put it, in our country of Belize as of right now. Why? Because the present government, or let me say it like this in a different way, the present caretaker of our governance system, okay, the employees that we give the privilege to manage our governance system on behalf of us, the Belizean people, and the country of Belize. They have decided to behave in an onerous way, act as scofflaws, and to willfully and deliberately violate the Constitution, knowingly, as a matter of fact, because what they're attempting to do, and in some cases are doing, under false pretext and under the color of law, because the Constitution vests some legal powers in them to make certain laws, they are going to the extreme of actually usurping powers onto themselves that they don't have any right to exercise unless they have a referendum and the plebiscite or the people of the country authorizes them to go ahead and exercise those powers, which are some powers vested in the people, reserved powers that the government is forbidden from trampling on or from having anything to do with because they are precluded. They're forbidden. They're at a bar. They're not supposed to attempt to transgress those particular portions of the Constitution. They have no power and authority vested in them to destroy the separation of powers doctrine and whatever else goes along with that. They have no powers, according to Section 20, for them to abrogate and or dispossess the public or any individual in the country, whether they are born Belizeans, whether they are nationalized or naturalized Belizeans, or whether they are just tourists or strangers passing through the country. The Constitution says any person, it didn't say just any Belizeans, any person that is within the boundaries, the territorial boundaries of the country of Belize, is to be afforded some basic human rights, civil rights, natural rights, and constitutionally enshrined fundamental rights. And the government has no powers and should not attempt to exercise any powers to derogate any of those and or to bastardize the Constitution itself. And as we go along a little bit further into the program, I guess maybe some people might get a sense of what is it I'm attempting to address or speak to or speak about. Because I just can't say it all in one sentence or one statement. So please bear with me. Uh, I was reading just now uh, from the Constitution of Belize, Part 1, Section 2, and Subsection 1. This Constitution, the Constitution of Belize, is the supreme law of Belize. And if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution, that other law, which are the laws that the legislature makes, are deemed and classified as other law, and they make, besides the laws, they make a lot of statutory instruments, they make departmental procedures, protocols, you know, for governance purposes. And it should be good governance, not just bad governance or ill governance. It should be good governance. And when allegiance, they swear allegiance to the country and fidelity to the Constitution, to not bastardize the Constitution and don't do any ill or anything that pertains to ill will towards the people and country. So, as regards to the other laws, if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution, that other law shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. The legislator wanted to make what was deemed as Amendment 13. There are some people in Belize who are lawyers or legal minds or legal practitioners. They have judges, okay, and you have a lot of legal minds who's supposed to know about these things that I'm speaking about, and from their own personal consciences should be involved in deliberating or speaking to these matters. But unfortunately, that is the profession that they make a living from, as lawyers. So it seemed to me like some of them, or quite a few of them as a matter of fact, don't care to have the public know what is good, bad, right, or wrong, what's lawful or unlawful, what's legal or illegal, unless they are going to collect their fee to go and represent somebody. Then they become involved. While we have an onerous government who need to have patriotic-minded Belizeans who know about these issues to stand up and speak to these issues and keep the government at least aware that other people are looking over their shoulder and are paying attention to the bastardization of the Constitution and the ill will that they're exercising towards the people and country of Belize. But like I said, it seemed like quite a few of them, unless they're going to collect some money, they're not going to get involved. So they sit aside, watch the government try to pass these bogus laws. As a matter of fact, they pass some of them, they implement them, and then people get hurt by those laws. And then the lawyers, they jump in the fray. They want to then go and collect some money from the people who are hurt by these bogus laws for them to go and fight against the government. Of course, the government have the treasury of the country in their pocket. So whenever you're going to go up against the government, it's always a major undertaking, and you're fighting uphill. But these lawyers appear to have no interest in the well-being of the country other than if they are going to benefit from it. Yes, there's a couple of them that I can probably name on probably one hand that have displayed some semblance of interest or concern. But at the end of the day, there's a whole legal system. You have all the members of the bar. You have people being called to the bar on a regular basis. And you have a big group of them who exist, to fatten themselves off of people being made prey by our very governance system. Onerous behavior on the part of the government to even put the civilians in that kind of awkward situation where the people in the country are about 60% poverty um, poverty index status, which means for all intents and purposes they could barely find money to buy some food for the day, much less for any other needs, or to go and fight to retain or maintain the I see someone else in the background. Okay, that's the chairman. I'm presuming that he's going to come on at his will. So, and I'm not sure that this topic is the topic that he might be pursuing for the night. But I was just trying to take advantage of the spare time to speak to some of these matters, and it makes me upset. Okay, on a personal level, to see that the government is going in this direction after having gone in that direction many times in the past, only for the government to be told by the court that they're in violation of the Constitution. As a matter of fact, we had been telling the government that they were in violation of the Constitution long before the court cases that the government ended up losing. We told them they were going to lose the cases as well too. So it's for many years now that we've been, trying to get the government to stop act in that kind of dastardly way. But they refuse. They just go ahead and do what they want because, well, who's going to stop them? And like I said, we don't have a strong enough legal system where they can be taken to task. And we have some of the, even the very judges that they're bringing into the country now to rule on the cases, the local cases, who are apparently more interested in staying in good grace with the government and keep their contract, safe, and rule not according to law, which is their responsibility, but rule according to the government wishes. So we Belizeans are in a much more terrible situation than we really think we are. And if we really understand the situation that we're in right now, imagine how much offended they would be to realize that we're heading into a worse situation than we are right now. Not everybody knows or understand the precarious scenario that we're dealing with, or what it entails, or what it forebodes. Much less for them to be concerned enough about what else is really coming down the pipe. I see our chairman is still being busy, so I'll just rant along a little bit more, if you don't mind. As I indicated, this was not supposed to have been the program for tonight, but I'm just trying to fill in a little bit on this and speak to some of these things because I'm totally flabbergasted about the fact that the government has been ordered by the court to stop to stop practice bogus SOE or state of emergencies. And they pursue this process, and the other day they tried to do what they call the Amendment 13, okay, which was like putting SOE on steroids. In other words, they were trying to do it worse. They were trying to legitimize and legalize past transgressions. But They did not get to pull it off because enough alarms were sounding and people were reeling up, and they decided to like hold it off and wait for another opportunity. No, they didn't come back with the same thing. They come back with something even worse. They came back with Amendment 13 on steroids. I see the chairman is about to come on, so let me leave it alone now. Thank you to those of you who were listening to our program. I see the chairman is out for another few minutes. I guess something is going on. I'm not too sure. Okay, so yeah, so basically now what we have, those who remember what Amendment 13 was supposed to have been about, right? It was so onerous, it was so crazy on its face that they took a little shame after they got beaten up over it. But now they're coming, like I said, with something that is even worse. It's like the Amendment 13 on steroids, like I said, far worse. And they're trying to push this stuff now with their with so-called the, the there's a few recommendations that was made by the PCC, which according to those recommendations, had they become the law of the day or the law of the land, it would have allowed the government to do exactly what they're currently now doing. So they did not fulfill or go through the process and bring those recommendations into any legal form. They're now pretending like those recommendations are actually the law of the day today, as we are talking, because they're trying to implement some of the same bogus stuff that they were recommending. That's how honest these people are. Chairman, good night, Mr. Chairman.
Good night, Mr. Brackett.
I was just trying to use up a little bit of the time on the front end, sir, for something that was
Thank you.
I was mad about, you know.
Thank you, sir.
I yield back, sir.
I want to say good night to you people at home and abroad. I want to thank you for tuning in to this 437th edition of Belizean Affairs. Tonight, I want to have an open discussion on the state of emergency and how we get to where we are at. I know Mr. Brackett had opened the show speaking about the Constitution, but tonight we need to break it down so you, the people, can be well versed in what is happening in Belize. I want to go back to something that was said quite a while back in the House by the then Miss Elena Smith. I want you, the people at home and abroad, to listen to what she had to say because I want to show you how time has passed and exactly what Miss Smith was speaking about is happening today. Let me go to the tape.
And welcome to our colleagues this morning. Madam President, the NTUCB has a few concerns regarding this bill before us. And while, as everyone has said, I support the comments made by my colleagues, we feel that we are moving away somewhat from using or requiring proof for some of these things when we are looking at, for example, you can be held accountable if I hear that you say something or you say a bad word, as we call it, just by those persons, indicating that they heard me say these things. That can be problematic for me as an individual. That is the view of the NTUCB in terms of reviewing this bill before us, and we feel that while we understand the purpose of the bill, and while it is that we want to ensure that we are not encouraging our citizens, threatening others and doing all of these sorts of things, we have to be very careful that putting this portion in here is not going to affect people's right in terms of your right to freedom of speech. And that's a huge concern for us that we share as it relates to this bill. Again, Madam President, we do understand that we want to have a society that is disciplined, that has certain behavior, but there's a thin line here when we include these words such as, whether directly or within hearing, that may create mischief. Because, for example, we were discussing that, let's say, for example, a police officer were to, hold you for something, in the process of arresting you for something, and maybe somebody else is shouting at you or telling you something while you are being transported, and you may utter profanity, might not be to the officer or about the officer, but it might be just that you're speaking to the other person who might be around. The NTUCB feels that can create some unnecessary issues, and so I think, again, the essence of what is here is supported. However, I think that this portion of this bill will create some issues in terms of people's freedom and people's rights. And so I don't know how we can look at that. In relation to the categories listed, yes, we do support those. I'm not sure about the elected official, because that's another matter again.
Now, people at home and abroad, the reason I wanted to go back to this case is because exactly what Ms. Smith was speaking about is happening in Belize today. And I am saying this because we are moving back to what we have speak about here and the reason affair for many a night, unconstitutional state of emergency that do not trump your constitutional rights using SI or policy. And even though you will hear them say it is only to target certain individuals, if you do not read between the fine print, you can be caught up and your fundamental rights be taken away. I want to go to you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Part of our problem is first and foremost these jackals that we have under the guise of a government, by the way, duly elected, which makes it all the more worse, pretend and bamboozle the people into having the people believe that whatever they want to do in terms of making laws, that they have the entitlement and the right to make laws because they're empowered to make laws. But they don't let the people be aware of the fact that those laws have to come within the bounds of the Constitution, because those laws are other laws, as I read just now from Section 2 of the Constitution. There are two different kind of laws in that particular Section 2. It speaks to the other laws, and it speaks to the Constitution, which is the supreme law of our land. But these jackals don't want to abide by the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution itself. They want to willy-nilly, out of the back of their pocket, out of the back of their head, or from wherever, decide to do what they want to do and make a law to fit what they want to do, rather than abide by the Constitution. They cannot dismiss the Constitution and create other laws which are onerous unto themselves, violative of the Constitution, and for the purpose of subjugating the people, for the purpose of overreaching, grabbing powers that is beyond their reach, that they are not duly entitled to exercise. The Constitution speaks to these matters clearly. There's a difference between, I won't even say a gang member, there's a difference between an individual or a group of individuals committing a crime that the police have an authority already vested in them to go and arrest them and bring them for justice. That's already in our Constitution. We already have laws that deal with those matters. These guys want to create new laws now that specifically derogates from the Constitution, derogates from our enshrined rights, and put the general public, in jeopardy or in problems, because they don't want to take the police force and go and arrest the people that they know are committing these crimes. I recall one time a previous commissioner said he knew who the criminals are. But if he know who the criminals are, why don't the hell they go and arrest them? Which is what they are being paid to do. They're supposed to be peace officers, maintain the peace. Don't go and make arrangement or agreement with these people that are committing those kind of crimes that they themselves are classifying as gang members, and because they're supposed to be gang members, therefore they're less than any other members of the society. Go and arrest them. Stop encouraging them and stop giving them special contracts to come and work for the government or for different departments or to do special things. Stop aid and abet them. Arrest them if you know them. But instead of doing that, which is their job, they turn around and create a bogus SOE or declare a bogus SOE, which is fabricated anyhow because it doesn't meet the criteria for an SOE. And then turn around and say, well, everybody in those areas where that SOE is deemed to be placed are exposed to the liability of falling up a foul of the law based on the bogus wordings that they put in these SOEs. And an SOE cannot trump the Constitution in the first place. So all those other laws, to the extent that they violate the Constitution, are null and void. And the only way people will get vindication after their rights are being violated and they put them 30 days in jail, who's going to give them back that 30 days? Some of them are never taken to court to be prosecuted adequately. I think some of our officials, they either need to be made an example of, one way or another, taken to jail and prosecuted. I think the director of public prosecution needs to step up and step in the fray and take on the task of putting some pressure on these officials who misuse and abuse our Constitution to do harm to the public under the guise that it's for public safety and public welfare, because that's bogus. And the Constitution says exactly in Section 18, what are the criteria that is justified for them to declare an SOE or a state of emergency. A state of emergency, as the Constitution says, is when you have a hurricane, or if some other country is trying to invade our country, or if there is a local group of people who are trying to take over the government illegally or by force. It doesn't say declare a state of emergency because the police officers then don't want to go and do their job. That's bogus. But I yield back for a second, Mr. Chairman. I know it's probably going to be a long night.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
I want to say this. present administration is piggybacking on what the former administration has done when they implemented Section 69(9), where it says once they pass any law or bill, it is exhausted, meaning you cannot challenge it. I have said it before, the government is trying to get rid of the fundamental rights, Section 3 through 19. They don't want you to have the power to seek judicial review. That is exactly why, when they lost the case, they had this bright idea about Amendment 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I will show you how it come about, because here in Belizean affair we love to show and tell. So let me go to the tape to refresh your mind as to what the Prime Minister had to say when he was giving the 2025 speech in Belmopan.
And the only nod to any difficulties at all was with the persistent problem of crime, where the Prime Minister actually suggested that constitutional protections are only an armor for criminals.
Indeed, the state of the nation is not without intractable problems. No state can be. Citizen security, for example, constantly tests our mettle, especially because the same constitution that guarantees your liberties can, at times, provide armor for disturbers of the peace.
It's a dim view of the nation's foundational document, but the PM still claimed moral high.
He's, he's losing his marbles, Mr. Chairman, as far as I can tell.
No, he mentioned that because they had lost the case to the young men that was picked up under the SOE without they have committed a crime and was sent to the prison and held there. Immediately after that, they wanted the 13th Amendment to pass, and they wanted it to run retroactively, that no one who was held from 2018 could file any lawsuit against the government. He even extended further than that to say that he will implement within the 13th Amendment where the BDF will be involved and the Coast Guard will be involved, along with the emergency powers people, and they will say when a SOE should come up. He wanted to get them involved, and that would have shown military power in the sense. Belize under SOE will be run like we're in war or civil war. Mr. Brackett, I go back to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Um, just a second. Let me turn on this stuff here quickly. Yeah. Okay. Uh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to read part of Section 18 of the Constitution of Belize, which deals with provisions for a period of public emergencies. And that is found under Section 18 of the Constitution of Belize, subsection 1, reads as follows. In this part, period of public emergency means any period I need to make this a little bit smaller. Just bear with me for a second. Yeah. Uh, Let me just read it over again. Subsection 1 says, in this part, period of public emergency means any period during which, as in the case of paragraph A, that, that says Belize is engaged in any war. We are not engaged in any war currently, so why is there an SOE? Or, as in the case of paragraph B, when there is in force a proclamation by the Governor General declaring that a state of emergency exists, and a state of emergency is allowed to exist, as stated above before, when Belize is in war, or as stated further on under section C, where it says, where there is in force a resolution of the National Assembly declaring that democratic institutions in Belize are threatened by subversion. Which democratic institution in Belize is being threatened by subversive uh, um, sub, subversion? So they still haven't met the criteria for putting in an SOE. Or there's no major catastrophe. What the Constitution speaks to when it says that the government can ask the Governor General to have a declaration of public emergency is when the public is in danger, mortal danger, when there's a catastrophic occurrence, a hurricane, an invasion from abroad, a local group of subversive people taking over the government or the institutions of government. Those killings that are happening all over the place. It's not by just black people in the south side. You have killings going on in Libertad, in Orange Walk. You have killings going on in Orange Walk, other villages and other parts of the district. You have, as a matter of fact, where was the SOE, or where is the SOE for all the drug trafficking and killing and other craziness going on at the northern border in Corozal? That's where the elements of the BDF and the police and the Coast Guard and all elements of the government should come to the rescue of the general public for public safety. I didn't see them or hear them or know of them putting any SOE, because those people are their colleagues that are dealing with those kind of issues up there. And some of those people are members of their divisions, their constituents. But they don't have a problem oppressing and suppressing the marginalized people in the city. Most of the crimes currently are being committed by people who are just coming into the country willy-nilly, and that they are facilitating to help increase and encourage them and aid and abet them with the criminal activities. That's what they should be dealing with, not declaring no public emergency and bring everybody under the discipline of a public emergency status where they lose their fundamental right, their basic civil right, their God-given natural rights, under the guise of the government pretending that they're solving a particular type of crime. That's not what the SOE is designed for. That's why we have the regular laws. And when they go ahead and make this SOE on the basis of a statutory instrument, the statutory instrument cannot empower them or allow them to override people's constitutional rights. That is impermissible. That's not allowed. But yet they want to bullyrag the process and pretend that they have a right to criminalize everybody Because that's what you do when you create an SOE. And then you have these uh, um, what you call police officers out there misbehaving themselves, under the color of law, brutalizing and arresting people under false pretext. And then the way they wrote this particular SOE now, all the amount of verbiage or words that are in there, catch words, that they could just roll up on anybody and just gratuitously, accuse somebody of something and take them to jail for 30 days without any trial, without any procedures. That's not what the government is supposed to be doing. We're not in a republic. We're not in a fascist state. We're not in a communist state. We're in a democratic state. And we have a parliamentary democracy. So I don't understand how is it that they think that they're supposed to do what they're doing and expect to get away with it, or expect that that nobody should say nothing. As a matter of fact, they're even putting in the SOE to say that if anybody complains about it or about the actions of any of the officers, that would constitute a breach of their intent, to muzzle the people. What kind of craziness is that? We don't need those kind of jackals in a free country to run free country like that. That type of behavior is the behavior that brings about revolutions in countries, big and small countries. People get tired of being taken advantage of, and sooner or later things break. Then they want to take our own resource and use it against us. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Bunch of idiots.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. I want to go to the tape of the commissioner to hear what he had to say about this SOE.
I believe what we are doing now, if you notice, we have a limited, it's referred to it as limited state of emergency because it's targeted, it's transparent, and it's accountable. And we have a necessary mechanisms in place to ensure that those individuals who are placed on the state of emergency go through a thorough vetting process. So it is, we have a more accountable process.
So can you say whether or not the leaders of the gangs involved are being sent up as part of this?
I can confirm that, yes. We have the leadership. In fact, this SOE basically not only the shooters, but also the influencers and the leaders. So while it is limited, it is targeted.
Now you heard what the commissioner had to say.
He's drunk with power, Mr. Chairman.
Not only the shooters, but the influencers. People at home and abroad, you must read through the SOE number 50 of 2026, because it is not only these individuals are targeted, but you, the regular citizens, are also targeted. Inside that SOE, it says in certain sections, if the police may stop you
Arbitrary and
ask
capriciously.
you questions, and if you do not answer, you can be subject to be detained. So right here again, we are dealing with your fundamental rights. So read up on what it is saying. Now, I want to go to what Mr. Bart Jones had to say, and I want to show you why what they are saying here is not the truth. They are not telling you the truth about this SOE. And the reason why, because it is all in black and white. We have people who does not read the Constitution and read up on their fundamental rights. And in the small portion of black and white, it specifies exactly exactly what can be happening to you. So let's hear what he has to say.
As in the past as well, you would always hear that as a possible complaint. And as the commissioner indicated, one unit specifically will be dealing with that. So that lessens the, maybe myself as PC Bart Jones, who has a gripes with someone, I would not be able to go and pick up that person and say under the SOE, because that only that particular unit, the GI3, will be dealing with that. And plus, the detention orders are signed by the minister, and the reasons for detention are signed by myself. And so if that person brings someone, then clearly I'll have to have the dossier, some history in terms of that person's connection to, so that's the kind of check and balance that we have in respect to the state of emergency, which have always been in the past as well.
Mr. Brackett, I go to you before I make my comment and go to the next case. Proceed, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Subsection 2 of Section 18 reads as follows. The Governor General may, not have to, she may, conditional, right? By proclamation, which shall be published in the Gazette, declare that a state of public emergency exists for the purposes of this part as regards to a proclamation made by the Governor General under subsection 2 above, which I just read, of this section shall not be effective. Listen to that carefully. Shall not be effective unless it contains a declaration that the Governor General is satisfied as regards to paragraph A, which says that a state of war between Belize and another state is imminent, or that a public emergency has arisen as a result of the occurrence of an earthquake. Which one of those people that they are hauling in for SOE is involved in creating an earthquake? Or a hurricane? Which one of those people are bringing down a hurricane or praying for a hurricane? Or has anything to do with bringing about a hurricane? Bunch of idiots. Or a flood? None of those people are responsible for a flood. Or a fire, outbreak of pestilence, outbreak of infectious diseases, or other similar calamity. You hear the term that is used? Calamity. And in most cases, it's about natural occurrence as a result of nature. Not occurrence as a result of somebody gone and kill somebody or shoot somebody, and that the police don't want to go and pick them up because, some of them are their family members or their friends or whatever, or maybe they end up on payroll for some of these people. Go and do your job. Stop messing around with the rest of the society. But again, as I said, the Governor General must be satisfied before this stuff becomes valid. It says, a proclamation made by the Governor General under subsection 2, which I had read before, of this section shall not be effective unless it contains a declaration that the Governor General is satisfied. Now, does that mean that the Governor General could just willy-nilly say, well, Mr. Attorney General came to the Governor General and told the Governor General, well, you know what, Cabinet has decided that we want to have an SOE. And I can assure you that we need an SOE. And that should be sufficient enough. The man's supposed to bring some evidence to the Governor General to show the Governor General, so that the Governor General can be satisfied that the SOE is needed to go and pick up people who are about to invade the country, or who are trying to take over the government, or people who are causing earthquake, or people who are causing hurricane, or people, those are the things, calamitous situations. That's what an SOE is for. And SOE is not to do day-to-day police work, whereby you won't declare under an SOE that people's rights or people lose their rights, their fundamental rights, their basic civil rights. That's bogus. And for the Governor General to assent to something like that without her being properly appraised and given the evidence to support what the Constitution requires for what she does to be correct, means that she is aiding and abetting a bunch of criminals to commit crimes under the color of law. With bogus law at that. Because the Constitution, I already told you, as I read 2 or 3 times just now in the front end of the program, that the Constitution of Belize is the supreme law of the land. And any other law that these jackals they make that is inconsistent with the Constitution and the enshrined rights and fundamental rights of people, which is enshrined, any law that these jackals make that violates people's constitutional rights is null and void. It's in the black and white right there for them to see. I read it 3 times just now. They got good lawyers that they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire. Why can't they do what's right? And why can't they get proper advice? They probably are getting the advice, but they choose to be onerous. Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. It goes beyond that. You read Section 18(2) and 3 of the Constitution of Belize just now. And I want to show you, the people at home and abroad, something that you don't know about. That is why I say you must read Part 50 of the State of Emergency. Because as my cousin said, there is no earthquake, there is no war, there is no pestilence as COVID-19, which when COVID-19 was implemented, it was a genuine state of emergency, and it has law inside in which you could have been arrested. No face mask, staying outside during curfew hours. But I want to show you the power that the government is bringing down in this state of emergency. Powers that they had not even enacted when they had a problem up north with cartels, when they had to go to the house and get $1 million to help to fight the cartels up in the northern side of Belize. But I want to show you how far they would go on this state of emergency. And I want to thank Attorney Mr. Matura for explaining it to the people. But let's hear this portion.
I hope you all could see Supreme Court, but it should say High Court. And you know, I just want to point out their little errors, because that's how hasty they do these things. So it says, no, upon the cessation of these regulations, nothing in these regulations shall be treated as continuing to have effect in consequence of the continuance of any persecution for an offense hereunder or for any other reason. So nothing, so even when these stop to exist, this regulation, it shall be treated as continuing to have effect. Whoa! Upon the cessation of these regulations, nothing in this regulation shall be treated as continuing to have effect in consequence of the continuance of any persecution for an offense hereunder or any other reason. So it means basically, yeah, the regulations may stop, but your persecution can continue, you know? Ay, man, this is some serious shit. You all please share. People need to understand the power that they have given to one police officer. And like I said, it's not even a police officer of a senior rank, and all the rights that they have taken away. And from all of us, it's not only the criminal elements. And boy, I better not be a target. So it says here, Section 16, notwithstanding any rule of law, to the contrary, the commander of the Belize Defense Force and the captain of the Belize Coast Guard shall hold their forces in readiness to assist, and if called upon by the Commissioner of Police, shall cooperate with and assist the Commissioner of Police in the performance of his duties under these regulations. Bale! full force against the people. A member of the Belize Defense Force and of the Coast Guard referred to in subsection 1 shall for all the purposes of these regulations have the power of a police officer and shall, where acting in accordance with any general or special instructions of the commander of the Belize Defense Force or captain of the Coast Guard, or any superior officer thereunder given in pursuance of subregulation 1 be deemed to be acting in performance of the duties of a police officer. Let me explain what this means. In law, police officers are the only ones who have power of detention and arrest. That's why when police, immigration, Coast Guard go on missions, they have to take a police officer, because police officers have the power of detention and arrest. What they're saying now is that they're giving the BDF who have never had powers of arrest, they're giving the BDF power of arrest. Jesus Christ. And the Coast Guard power of arrest. Wow. This is a blow. This is big to absorb. This is big. This is huge. This is a lot to absorb. Wow. So the Commissioner of Police just have to say, guys, stand by, and when you come in. Now, let me tell you what I don't like with that, because now we're becoming a militarized government. Man, Johnny, I think you're wrong on this one. And Kareem, you're an attorney and you know, Papa, you.
So there you go. If they say it's not a big deal and they know who they're after, why would you do that? Because if you recall what he said, the Constitution is protecting some people and they are getting away with certain things. And in trying to pass the 13th Amendment, he included the BDF and the Coast Guard as to be a part of it for when they're having state of emergency. So here you go. And why is they saying that even when that is ended, you still can be tried? If you recall the 13th Amendment, they wanted to make it retroactive from 2018. So nobody who was held could go and sue the government. So now, even when the state of emergency is over, they want to keep it retroactive to say they can come and try you at any time, so you don't get the right to sue them. That is what they are saying. So people, as I'm saying, you need to read up on it. And it goes further than that. I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. From the time we got on this particular platform, we've been speaking to these matters in detail and predicting every step that these guys have been taking long before they took those steps. If anybody wants to check the facts, go back and check. We have 437 as of tonight programs. There's enough meat in there, enough predictions in there, and enough of what we have predicted over the period of time to show that it did come to fruition what we were talking about. Even while we were being told that we were trying to predict things ahead of time and we can't predict the future, or that we were trying to say that these people were interested in doing certain things when in fact we didn't have any proof that they were. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that these guys, they tried with the 13th Amendment, they tried with the gun laws and the gun courts. They are not the very same things that they had in the recommendations from the PCC is what they're trying to put into effect right now without having brought the PCC recommendation as part of our constitution. None of that has been made into law so far. But they're trying to use those ideas without them having been fully vested, without them having been fully And they're trying to do it by them just writing something in a SOE and declare it to be the law of the land. And the Constitution says any other law that they can write, so long as it does not fall within the prescripts of the Constitution, those other laws are void. What part of that they don't understand? They don't want to understand. Why? Because they're hell bent on abrogating our fundamental rights, taking away our civil rights, and trying to pretend that they have the power not only of the courts to deny us of our rights, but the military power to back it up, to empower the police to go out there, as well as the BDF and the Coast Guard, to manhandle the people. Not the people that they say are the criminals that they would like to deal with, to manhandle just about anybody in the society. That bodes ill as far as their actions is concerned. That tells you that they have no respect and regards or consideration for the public. Because they won't leave the criminals who are their buddies, who help them run drugs and who they are covering for, and come after the just average Joe Blow on the street, or Mary or whoever, and turn them into criminal elements, or classify them, or deem them, as they say, because according to them, whoever they deem to be a criminal deserves to be treated like a criminal. And I recall one time Musa had said, well, if you are arrested by the police because they deem you to be a criminal or that you have done something wrong, then you have to prove that you haven't done nothing wrong. When in fact, they are the ones that are supposed to prosecute you and prove that you have done something wrong. So these jackals from the get-go have ill intent. I really feel I'm getting to the stage now where I'm starting to believe and feel like karma needs to visit these people. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. But it goes further than that, and we have mentioned this on Belizean affair more than one time when there was a SOE. But again, here we come, and they are making believe that you, the public, will not also be included or be held accountable. This is how far it is going. Let me go to the next stage.
Before you go, Mr. Chairman, part of the problem is messaging. Okay, they're telling the public one thing when they meet them or they talk to them in person, when media people ask them questions. They're saying something that doesn't jive with the documents that they're putting into black and white. Okay, and that's where the real seriousness is, because a lot of people are going to get hurt by those things. They will not have any recourse because all the possible recourse is being withdrawn or suppressed.
That is why I said, Mr. Brackett,
yes, sir,
to the people at home and abroad, you must read Section 50, SI 50 of 2026, because what was done after the Governor General had signed Section 49, they went back and added some more. But let's hear the tape.
Clearly I can't, because then I would be a target. I'd be a target. But anyway, let me finish explaining this legislation. So we are now at the section 1415. So imagine, I think I should explain this part here. It says the section 14.2, it says, an order made under this regulation shall be published by posting a copy of the order in the premises affected. certificate under the hand of a police officer to the effect that he is satisfied that a copy of the order has been duly posted in accordance with Subregulation 2 shall be admitted in evidence as conclusive proof of the posting of the copy of those premises. So you realize how much power is being given to the police, to one police officer. It's not like they're saying police officer from the rank of inspector up. Any police officer. So if you have a beef with a police officer, be very careful. And all of us are in the area, so let me not have any beef with any police officer, because I don't know. It's serious. It's serious. And what I worry about that is that if you become a enemy of the state because you do not accept their conduct, if they see you as an opposition, they can concoct anything, and you fall under that category. People share this. I know my first part 1, broke off, and this is part 2, but this part is very important. I don't know what I touched or what caused the life to have gone. Now, it says, notwithstanding any rule of law to the contrary, but subject to these regulations, no bail shall be allowed in the case of any person in respect of whom a detention order is in force, detained under the provisions of Regulation 11. And let's go back to what Regulation 11 says. Regulation, it says the power of arrest, which is very wide. They just have to have an honest belief. Okay, so let me go back. And then it says also that, or you cannot get bail if you've been charged with an offense if it is shown to the satisfaction of the magistrate that it is reasonably apprehended that the person arrested is likely to engage or to incite persons to engage in the commission of breaches of peace or of any other offense against the person or property or against these regulations or any orders, instructions, or directions made thereunder. So this I have to really absorb this one. It says, once the magistrate is satisfied that you have incited persons to engage in the commission or breaches of the peace or any other offense against the person or against these regulations. So if I am telling you these regulations are wrong and that you should challenge it, they can deem that I am inciting persons to go against these regulations. The magistrate only has to be satisfied that I've called it bullshit regulations, damaging us, and they can say, well, we will charge you as an offense under this regulation, and you're not entitled to bail. Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying, people at home and abroad? Total violation of your fundamental rights.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that regulation, as Ms. Matura was mentioning, that regulation cannot trump the Constitution.
But it is in, Mr. Brackett, it is in Section 50. That is why we need the public to read it.
Not Section 50, SI 50. But we have to read SI 49 as well as 50.
SI 50, you're right.
There's a need to read SI 49, which comes before 50, which is where they put out the original seal of the Governor General. But even on SI 49, they didn't take the whole of that information to the Governor General for her to read and understand, because if the Governor General does not understand what that thing is saying, and she's just signing on to it, it means then that she is committing a crime against the society.
To me, Mr. Brackett, my belief,
go ahead.
I believe the text is 549 that was only showing the zoning where they want to have this SOE, and she signed and sealed it. And then they came with SI 50 after they done that.
Yes, but SI 49 is a 5-page document. The Governor General wait, make I get the point. The Governor General should have been properly advised about the contents of that SI, because that SI is transgressing the Constitution. And the Governor General, if she knew that that was the case, she should not have been signing on to that SI, because she is then saying the SI has the power of law by her signature and then should supersede the Constitution. When the Constitution under Section 2 already tell you any other law
Mr. Brackett,
is
Mr.
inconsistent.
Brackett, you're not understanding what happened.
I do.
As I said, I believe only Section 49 was presented to her.
I don't have a problem.
That is my belief.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a problem with you believing that. I'm trying to tell you and the public that is listening to our show that the Governor General needs to understand what she's assenting to. And if you have the Attorney General acting,
why don't we do this for next show? Let's get SI 50 and see if it has on a seal like SI 49.
But whether it has a seal or not, Mr. Chairman, as I'm trying to imply to you and to the public, if the Governor General puts a seal on it and signs off on it, that is tantamount to giving legal constitutional authority to an SI. But an SI cannot trump the Constitution.
Then she is complicit. She's complicit.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to say she's complicit, because I don't know if she's properly advised. That is the point that I was trying to bring across.
I will tell you why. I'm not afraid to say that. In fact, I will show you why. I'm not afraid to say that. Let's listen to the tape.
Charge you as an offense under this regulation, and you're not entitled to bail. Yup. This is some serious shit. Let me see. Don Gabriel says, I totally agree with you because the police are in with them too. That is so true. Yes. And it's not all police officers. There are good police officers. But boy, the underbelly of this, they're not solving the crime issue. Let me read right here. It says the writ of habeas corpus shall not lie in these cases. Let me explain to you what habeas corpus is. Habeas corpus is a kind of claim or action you can bring before the court. And habeas corpus really means bring the body forth. That is the literal translation. But what it means is that if I believe you've been unlawfully detained, so let's say I believe that Don Gabriel is unlawfully detained and I want to challenge her detention, I would file for what we call habeas corpus, whereas the court is forced, the police, the authorities are forced to bring forth the person to appear before the court and to justify why they're detained. That is a constitutionally allowable legal position you can take under our constitution and our laws. What they're saying is that you're not allowed to bring it. You're not allowed.
That's a violation of the Constitution. They can't.
Exactly. That is what I'm speaking about. That is what I'm speaking about. You cannot deny nobody. That's a fundamental right protected by the UN Charter.
Mr. Chairman?
I hope the people know that. It is protected internationally.
The fundamental rights, the natural rights, the international human rights, all these things are enshrined. They're inviolable. And anybody that violates them or attempts to derogate them is acting contrary to the Constitution, is violative of the Constitution. And the Constitution says whenever you have such a situation occurring, to the degree or the extent of the inconsistency of what the Constitution requires, whatever is it that they're trying to do is null and void. By law, according to law, according to constitutional law, right? But the problem is these guys are pretending that whatever they are doing it, and whether it meets the constitutional prescripts or not, it's immaterial, because they're going to vote for it in the House, and because they make it into a law in the House, it must be deemed as constitutional, when the Constitution itself is speaking to the matter and saying to the extent of the inconsistency of what these jackals are doing to violate people's fundamental rights, it is unlawful, illegal, and impermissible. What part of that they don't want to take into consideration? It's all because they want to bamboozle the people. They don't think that the people knows enough to understand what the facts, the issues are, and how is it that it's spoken to by the Constitution. So they will go ahead and do what they want to do, and somebody have to challenge them. And if nobody challenge them, you know, I don't know. It's just crazy. But are you back, sir? Are you back, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
Well,
This is why I'm saying they must read SI 50, because look how they put it together. If you are barred from a habeas corpus, if you are being held without committing a crime, right? They are barring you from that. Then yet, they are saying even if this SOE is over, even if it's over, they can still try you. That is to prevent you from having any access to the court to seek a remedy for your detention. No, it goes farther than that, Mr. Brackett. Farther than that. And people at home and abroad, I want you to hear it. Because this part and section, we fall right inside it, Mr. Brackett. I want you to listen to it.
So Constitution so that we can read this and simply understand it? No. But let me continue because I want to wrap up. I have to go take a rest. I have a long day tomorrow at work. So the minister has to be satisfied that they can prevent a person from acting in a manner prejudicial, and he basically lock you up in your house. Oh, minister, please don't try and lock me up. But you can lock me up, but you can't lock up my mind. Let me continue. The minister is satisfied that a person has been concerned in acts prejudicial to the public safety. And this is the thing. Who decide what are acts prejudicial to the public safety? Is my explaining to you all that your rights are being trampled and abused? Is that something that's prejudicial to public safety or public order? Then they say, including an offense under the Crime Control Criminal Justice Act, or in a preparation or instigation of such acts, or that for any reason thereof. So any reason that they think it is necessary to exercise control over that person. So that's where I fall. Any reason. It doesn't have to be because it's under the Crime Control Act or any offense. They just have to have that. For any reason they think that I am influencing public opinion that is prejudicial to what they're wanting to do, or is going against what they claim is public safety, the minister can then declare that I am a person that should be put on house arrest because I'm instigating and inciting you all by explaining this to you all. So they say if it is necessary to exercise control over that third person, they may make an order to be known as a detention order against any person directing that he be detained. Yo. Anyway, you know me, I went talk out. Truth is the truth. And then again, we're stuck with another government unable to solve crime and using draconian processes, and still after the state of emergency is lifted, the crime will continue because they don't want to solve the problem. Let me look at this one now. It says here, a person detained under the detention order shall be deemed to be in lawful custody and shall be detained in such place as may be authorized by the minister and in accordance with such instructions. Well, minister, if you detain me, please detain me in your house. I want to live in your house. I'm sorry. And this is what they can do. At any time after a detention order has been made against any person, the minister may, by a further order, revoke or vary detention, or may direct that the duration of detention order be suspended, subject to any of the following conditions as the minister sees fit: imposing on such person restrictions as to the place of residence, your association, and your communication with persons. I told you eventually, even my internet will get knocked off. I did telling all this thing serious. This shit serious. Boy.
So there you go. If they find you communicating or they find fault with you, automatically you could go and house arrest. They could cut your network. You can't talk to nobody. I think we have come to the end of the show, Mr. Brackett. I will go to you for the last comment and the closing, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I read section 20, subsection 1 as my closing? Okay. Section 20 of the Constitution of Belize, subsection 1 reads as follows. If any person shall allege, or if any person alleges that any of the provisions of section 3 through to 19 inclusive of this Constitution has been, is being, or is likely to be contravened in relations to him, or in the case of a person who is detained, if any other person alleges such a contravention in relation to the detainee or the detained person, then, without prejudice to any other actions with respect to the same matter, which is lawfully available, that person, the person who is alleging, or that other person who is alleging on behalf of somebody else, may apply to the Supreme Court for redress. And these jackals in this bogus SI are trying to tell us that you will get no bail and you can't, for all intents and purposes, the recommendation that was made is that the Prime Minister will be the head of state and will be the dictator. And if any person that is to go for any of these things, here the Prime Minister will put a group together and determine, as in the case of the BDF, the Coast Guard, and the Police Department, under a military state, which is what they're trying to get done, basically, to capture the powers and authority of the country unto themselves, to give themselves, for them to basically steal power and authority that is currently vested in the people, take away their fundamental rights, take away their rights to make decisions in regards to certain specific issues that only the people can grant the government permission for under state of not state of under a referendum through the Representation of the People's Act. It says the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction to hear and determine any applications made by any person in pursuance of subsection 1 of this section, and goes on to say, other things. But we are beyond time, and the chairman was asking me to make my last statement, and that's my last statement for tonight. We'll probably have to take up this matter. Well, we definitely will take it up a bit more because it's a lot of reading, and we need to grab a hold of a couple of those extra documents. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
I want to thank you, the general public at home and abroad, who has listened to our program, has stayed the course with us as we discuss here and Belizean affairs, things that are happening home in this country. I want to thank those of you who will listen to our program when you get home or when you have that time. And I hope that what we are doing here by discussing all these ills and all these things that past and present government has done will help you in some form of way, especially when we know we're getting close to election time. With that, I want to say good night to you, the public, at home and abroad.